Welcome to the Online Interpersonal Communication course. This orientation will give you an overview of the course as well as some of the processes that you'll need to navigate and submit assignments. So if you've gotten to this orientation, you've obviously gotten this far. But let me kind of go over some of the homepage things that you have available to you, and you can see what you want to use or what you want to ignore. On the front here, you'll see an announcements section. That gives you an overview of some of the material that I'll be providing throughout the semester. I will send audio announcements for each unit. I will also put any other additional announcements there. And it will likely also be submitted to your student email. So make sure to have that accessible so that you can get access to any announcements that I provide in that method as well. There's also other tools here that you may or may not want to use. I find the to-do section to be kind of valuable because it gives you what's due and what to expect and all through the future, today, tomorrow, and so on. So I find that to be kind of a useful tool to benefit you. There's also alerts for assignments, what's new, what's coming up, if anything's been added, that kind of thing. So use what is useful to you. The only thing that I ask that you definitely focus on is the announcements, because just in case you want to be able to access those as you progress through the course. So that is the home page. Let's start by looking at the syllabus and schedule. There are three pieces of information here. First, the syllabus, then a schedule by date, and then a schedule by content. So let's start with the syllabus. Within the syllabus, you will see, and if it doesn't open, just go ahead and click on it, it'll pop open. It's a PDF, so you should be able to see it on a mobile device or your traditional laptop or computer. So this gives you kind of an overview of my access information if you ever need to contact me. You can come see me in my office, which is 2350 in the Liberal Arts Building, sort of diagonal to Starbucks on the second floor of the newest portion of the Liberal Arts Building. Then also my email account, which is probably the easiest way for you to get a hold of me. I would recommend you do that more than anything. You can call my office phone and I will do my very best to respond to your phone calls quickly. But honestly, I'm not always in my office because I teach face-to-face classes or I'm in a meeting, and then there's days when I'm not there and I don't get those voice messages until I come back. So I would recommend that you email more than anything. So let's give you kind of an overview of what the course is about. In a general sense, it gives you a perspective of how relationships are impacted by things like perception, mindset, conflict, and so on. So you have kind of an interesting course, and depending upon your major, there's a lot of use for this topic. If you go into nursing, for example, that's a required course for most of the nursing program. There's also this requirement for some business majors and those that are wanting to go into entrepreneurship. This is an important one. And honestly, even just for your own benefit, just personally and professionally, the course is incredibly valuable. And I'm not saying that just because I teach the course. I find it to be a very valuable course. For me as an undergrad, this was one of my most impactful courses. And it can be for you too if you really focus on it. Then you can kind of read through the objectives on your own. There are textbook materials. However, it's not a traditional textbook. I never have really been a big fan of textbooks, and I no longer use them in any of my classes. For this course, you'll need two things. One is to get the book Mindset by Dr. Carol Dweck. It's a small book. It's a quick read, nothing that'll take you more than a few hours. It's very interesting. It is one of the most life-changing books I have ever read. And I've read it multiple times. So take a moment to see kind of what would be the best way for you to access that information. You can get it hard copy. You can get it at the library or at the bookstore through SWIC. You can get that using your using your financial aid. So that's something that might be worth checking out. It is a small price, I think somewhere between $12 and $15. I've also given you some links to bookfinder.com to see if you can find it used cheaper, or amazon.com and what their prices are for used and new books. So it's up to you how you access it. Also, you may be interested in getting an audio book. I have read the book physically. I have the hard copy, but I have also listened to it twice, and I find both those options totally worth it. So if you are interested in an audio version, check out your local library. Usually they have the MP3 or even CDs if you absolutely have to find it that way. But also, if you're a fan or are interested in checking out audible.com, which is just my favorite thing ever, but you can get books in audio format on audible.com. And if you're new to it, you can get it for your first book for free. So in that case, you could just download Mindset and listen to it on your drive or when you're taking a walk or what have you. Do whatever your preference is. Any of those ways is perfectly fine. Again, you can get it from the bookstore as well. In addition, you will need to purchase one of the films that are listed here. Now, you need to have one. You can choose more, but you will really only need to have one. These films are popular films like Gran Torino, The Pursuit of Happiness, Freedom Riders, and Doctor Strange. Now, you have a number of ways that you can do this. They are able to be purchased at the bookstore, so you can use your financial aid to purchase one or more of the films. But you can also get them rented or borrowed from the library on Amazon Prime or Hulu or Netflix or whatever. There's some that are available there. At this moment in time, I found it on Pursuit of Happiness and Doctor Strange. I found both on Amazon Prime and Netflix. But it may change as the months progress. So see what you can find. And if not, just get it from Amazon or get it from the bookstore, and then you'll have the hard copy. So you will need one of those films, if not more. Honestly, I think you only need one, but it's your call if you want to do two different films or what have you. So that's the required material you need. You also have some assignments. There are 2 large units for this total course. So you will only have 2 units to address. Each unit has 4 required assignments. So within those, you have to first do notes. So the notes are basically your written notes about the lectures and readings that you do for each of your units. In this case, I have quite a few small videos on YouTube that I have linked into the course so that you will watch those. They're my lectures that I've recorded for you. You'll watch those and take notes. And you can do those digitally. You can just type up the notes, or you can do them handwritten if that's your preference and take photos of the notes and then just upload the photos to the assignment box. It's really your call. But you will need to have a set of notes for each, and it will be a total of 20 points for each unit for submitting those notes. And there are rubrics for the notes, so I would take a look at that, and I'll show you kind of how to get to that when you get a chance. So you will need to submit notes for the unit. You will also need to participate in one discussion per unit, not one per week, one per unit. So it is a pretty simple discussion. Basically, I'm asking you to write a substantial initial post about what you thought of Unit 1 and then what you thought of Unit 2. Pretty laid back. As long as all 3 of your posts are substantial, then you will get the full credit. However, it is a complete incomplete on each of the 3 posts. So if they're not substantial, you don't get the points for them. So please keep that in mind. There's a rubric for that as well, so you may want to check that out. So you'll have a total of 2 forums to participate in. Within those forums where you're participating in the discussion, you'll need to do 3 posts, so 6 total. And that's a total of 30 points for each unit, or 60 points. Each unit will also have an exam, which will consist of about 80% true, false, multiple choice, that kind of thing, and about 20% essay or short answer. So make sure you are paying close attention to all the lectures and you've got your notes clearly in front of you so that you can access those as you're taking the test. And also keep in mind that oftentimes the unit exams are going to ask you to, in essay format, elaborate on some of the concepts. So you're going to need to save yourself the time you'll need in order to answer those questions clearly. And then finally, each unit will have a unit project, which will be applying to the film. So there's a project that you'll need to complete. You'll have options within that project. There'll be a lot of choices there. And you can choose whichever choice you want, but you need to make sure to complete it fully, and it needs to apply to the film. So hopefully that gives you kind of an overview of what the assignments are. Unit notes, discussions, exams, and projects. One of those for each unit, and there are 2 units. If you look through here, you can see the point value designated to each unit as well as the total, which is 500 points in the course. Attendance policy, it's a little different for an online class than it would be for a face-to-face class. In terms of financial aid, you must submit assignments regularly. If you don't submit an assignment on time or at least close to it, you end up potentially being withdrawn from the course, which affects your financial aid. I pretty much follow that procedure for the way we have our courses set up and how we register rosters and everything is that there's a first roster which happens in the first couple of weeks of a semester, and then a midterm roster which happens about midway through the term. And I will withdraw on those two rosters. After that, if you want to withdraw and you're failing and you would rather be withdrawn, you need to request that from me or do it yourself. And the request would have to be in writing or email. So just kind of giving you an overview of the withdrawal policy and how to stay regularly participating in the course. There's other tools here if you need them, like disability and access and learning outcomes and such. And there's the access to the schedule. But this is a rigorous course. It's a shorter course. It's 8 weeks. So it is going to be more intense than a traditional 16-week course. So keep that in mind as you are considering how to progress through the course. And there's other material here if you need it, but that's kind of the basics of this particular syllabus. Let's look now at the schedules. So the schedules are laid out by both date and by content. So if you're looking at the dates, this may be different for you depending upon what semester you're in or what term you're in, but it should give you the due dates or the range of dates for each week. Week 1, Unit 1 is a certain range of dates, and you'll see it different for your course if needed. And then it'll tell you what to do for that week. So keep this as kind of a date range of what to expect. And it goes all the way through to the end. Now, the course schedule by content is a little bit different, and it tells you kind of what is required for each unit. So it gives you an overview of the topics, kind of what you need to do for them, what is assigned and when those are due, and then as well as the second unit and what that is required there. You'll notice you have 2 assignments due on the second week, and then 1 on the 3rd, 1 on the 4th, then nothing on the 5th, 2 on the 6th, 1 on the 7th, 1 on the 8th. That's kind of how it works for both of those units. So let's go back. That's the course schedule and the syllabus. So hopefully that gives you kind of an overview of what to expect for the course. I want to give you a little bit about the professor details or myself. I am the chair of Languages, Philosophy, and Communication Arts. So if you have questions about any of those courses, I'm here to be supportive for you. I'm also an associate professor specifically of communication arts and specifically within communication arts of speech communication, because we also have theater and mass communication. My office and extension are available here. Just a little bit about myself. I have a master's degree in speech. I have an undergraduate degree, a bachelor's in mass communication, a master's in speech communication, and I will be completing my doctorate in education in spring of 2019. I also have a wonderful family, a husband and kids, and 3 dogs. So take a look at that and see kind of a little bit about myself. It gives you some funny, interesting information about me. Office hours will be put here as well. These are the hours that you can actually physically come see me. And then also keep in mind that being in an online class is not the same as a face-to-face class. It requires you to be personally driven and independent in your work style. So I've given you some suggestions as to how to make sure that you do well in an online class. I've been teaching this since 2008 was when I started teaching online, January of 2008. So I've been doing this for a while. So please take a look at this to make sure you're on task. There's also a couple other things about, participating in online courses and APA examples and such. If you need that for, say, if you choose to write a paper for your project, that's one of the options, then you may want to take a look at that. So that's a little bit about me. And now let's take a look at the unit content and how to sort of progress through each of these units. Like I said, there are 2 units, 2 major topics within each unit. So if you click on the unit, you'll be able to see what the date range is for that unit. And if you click on it, it has 4 folders. One for lectures and readings, one for the film information, one for your assignments, and one for additional activities. So if you click on lectures and readings, that gives you a video that you can watch to kind of give you a general, really quick overview of what to expect in the unit in terms of what content is in there. Then there will be a folder for each set of videos. These you need to take notes on every single video. And then the actual PDF version of the PowerPoint that I use to create the videos. And then in this particular unit, you're reading the book Mindset as well. You'll notice that you're not required to read every single chapter. Instead, you need to read the first 3 chapters, which again, this is not a long book. It's very simple. It's very short. You will be able to get through it pretty quickly. And then you'll need to choose one from chapters 4 through 7. You can do more if you want, but at least one of those chapters. So, for example, if you're really into sports and you're on a lot of sports teams, or that's a big part of your life, you may choose chapter 4. If you want to go into business or entrepreneurship, or you want to be in a management position at some point, you might want to look at chapter 5. If you're more interested in personal relationships, like romantic relationships, for example, then you might want to choose chapter 6. And then finally, if you are a parent or you want to go into education or you want to be a coach of some sort, then you want to choose chapter 7. Now, also you'll want to do Changing Mindsets chapter 8. So that's the total of all the readings that you'll do. So you'll have a complete total of 5 chapters that you'll need to read. Now, let's take a look at these videos. If you click on the link to the videos, you'll see 2 sections of stuff. For example, right here is a link to the playlist for the first part of the Unit 1 videos. So if you click on that, you're able to go see the YouTube video list and what is required to watch for that particular set. So the unit overview, discussion of transactional communication, principles, myths, and communication competence. And you'll notice they're not very long. They're pretty quick videos. Here's my recommendation. If you want to watch all the videos at once, go to the playlist. If you would prefer not to watch all the videos at once and you want to do little blurbs of them as you go, then stay on the Blackboard course because I've linked each individual video here. So you can watch transactional communication model, then you can choose principles, and each one you can just link and it'll pop up right within Blackboard. So that is if you want to do them individual. If you want to have them all kind of back to back, then just click on the playlist. And the same will apply to the second part within this unit, which is the mindset videos. That gives you, again, the playlist to that, and then the videos that you would need to watch for mindset. Okay, so there you go. That is the videos here. In addition, you can go back and take a look at the next section here, which gives you some films or the information about the films, kind of an overview about the films and the projects. And then I have linked here the trailers for each one of the videos, as well as a link to purchase the video on Amazon if you don't go through and do it in some other format, whether that's the library, because you can usually get a video from the library for free as well. So whether you do it from the library or the bookstore or whatever other tool you use, this is the link to the Amazon purchase of that video. So that kind of gives you an overview of that. And then within the assignments, you'll be able to see what assignments are due, their description, and all of that. So let me kind of go through each of these really quickly. Unit 1 notes, this process will be identical for Unit 2. The Unit 1 notes gives you kind of an overview of what you need to do for the notes. And then when you click on it, you should be able to see the due date, how many points are required or available, and there's even a link to the rubric, so you can click on that and see kind of it's a complete, incomplete, and what you need to have for each of those in order to get the full points for that. And then as you go through, you can click on Browse My Computer and upload either the document that you typed or if you did handwritten notes, the pictures of the notes. And either way is completely fine. Just keep in mind you need to follow all the instructions, like for example right here, to highlight or put your own thoughts in another color and such. And that's the notes for both Unit 1 and 2. This, you only access Unit 1 for the notes for Unit 1, and then you'll do the same thing in Unit 2. Unit 1 discussion gives you the question here. All you have to do is click on it, and then I've given you kind of an overview of how to create a thread, but it's very simple. You click create thread, and then you can type in your subject and all the material here. And you want to keep in mind that everything needs to be considered substantial. So if I go back on that page where it has the assignments, actually it has it in a number of places, but you'll see what a substantial post is supposed to be. And this is for both your initial and your response posts. And you'll need, again, a total of 3 of those. And then you have your exams for each unit. In the exam 1, it gives you a description of the exam, tells you how much time you have to take that exam. What it does, it's going to submit automatically once that time period is up. And you can make sure that you understand when the due date is. So right here it says February 4th, 2018, or whatever it is for your individual class. And then you can close that out. And that is where you will take the exam. So please make sure to use that time wisely. Again, it's about 80% multiple choice and true false, and about 20% short answer and essay. And then your project will be here in a link at the bottom. So you'll click on that. It does have a PDF that kind of gives you an overview of the project and what to do or what options you have. So take some time to take a look at that. But when you're ready, you can click on Unit 1 and you can submit the project through Unit 1 link. Now, there may or may not be a rubric here, but if there's not a rubric here that will show up, you will get a rubric in another way. I haven't decided how I'm going to go about that, but there may be a rubric available, there may not be. But at the very minimum, you need to go follow the Unit 1 project description so that you can make sure you have all the pieces. Okay. So that's kind of the overview of each unit, how they look. The only other thing that each unit will have is a section to access potential activities. And these are not graded, they're just interesting activities. Like I said, this can be a very influential class. If you take the time, or maybe there's a relationship you really care about and you want to kind of see how they would find this information, you might want to check out these activities. For example, if you click on the communication process activities, there's a neat TED Talk about how to have a better conversation, which is kind of interesting, a new perspective. Also, you can see what your self-perceived communication competence is. And even better, if you get into the mindset activities, there's how to figure out what your mindset is, a TED Talk video on the overview of mindset. You can figure out your personality type from the MBTI, which we'll talk about in lecture, your self-esteem, and so on. There's a lot of interesting things to do. So if you want to check them out and learn about yourself or encourage somebody you know to do the same, that would be a great opportunity for you to kind of get to know your partner or whomever a little bit more, as well as to improve your relationship. So that's the unit content. And as you can see, Unit 2 does the same thing. I'm not going to go through each. It does the same thing. It gives you the lectures and has all the material you need and so on. So everything should kind of work very similarly for both of these. Now, finally, just so you know, if you're interested, there's a link to community help material like the Success Center, the library, which I'm going to change right now. The username and password is your eStorm username and password. And then links to other services that you may or may not need. So if you find any of these useful to you, take a minute to check them out. And that's everything. Hopefully you are ready to go. And if you have questions, you know how to contact me. And I will see you in the classroom.